Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday edition of the Hawg Talk podcast presented to you by Vision Exteriors. We have a loaded show tonight. Women's College World Series, baseball regionals, Hunter Yurchek putting out a statement, and Malik and Billy Richmond making their NBA decision. We got Kyle Sutherland of Hawg Beat. No introduction needed. Welcome to the show tonight, and we'll just kick things off. Big showdown tonight. Kyle, I want to first appreciate you for joining Adam and I. As you know, we love all three of us talking about the women's sports and college softball. But how excited were you, for Arkansas making the Women's College World Series, and how excited are you to watch them tonight?
Oh man, it's to the fan side of me, it's a dream come true. It really is. You were a big part of really getting me to be a fan of this team. What, 7 years ago, whatever it was. If I could appeal to the younger crowd, you were a big part of that, and I think really since 2018 or so, I've really just enjoyed following them. And of course, that was the year they went to their first super regional and everything. And man, I think that it's just, from the Razorback side and from the fan side, I'm super just excited about that part of it. But just with how much I do in the state, as far as my 4-year-olds messing around in my office here, as much as I do within the state, as far as the high school stuff, and just, of course, I know that a lot of the kids on the Arkansas roster, they don't play a ton of innings, but still, just the fact that they get to experience this, and those are kids that I covered, that I care about a whole lot. It means a lot from that aspect too. I mean, of course, from the fan side, but just knowing how the success of this program has done for the entire state at multiple divisions, it just means that much more. And it's just going to be so much better for the growth. But so excited for these seniors, for especially Robin Heron, Reagan Johnson, Natalia Rijo, the originals from the 2022 class, and then ones like Kaylee Wyckoff, Carly Davison that have been here for a couple of years that feels like forever. Just so excited for this senior class in particular to be able to go out with an OKC truck.
Yeah. How do you feel about, Porter and I have talked about this extensively, I guess, it's the best way to put it, but how much luck will play into this? Because, no matter the sport, basketball, football, baseball, there's always luck that's going to go into the favor. But how much luck does Arkansas need? Because we feel like that Courtney Deifel has done those things in the offseason from previous seasons. You go out for whatever reason, whether it's pitching, whether it's hitting, whether it's coaching, whatever. She's addressed those. She's buttoned everything up. So right now, how much luck does Arkansas need?
You certainly have to have some of it, no question. I think last year is a perfect example of that. You had a roster that was good enough for OKC, but when your top two pitchers are just deathly sick, I don't know if deathly is the right word, but violently sick, that's obviously going to play a major role. Not making excuses. Ole Miss was flaming hot at that time, and they won the series fair and square. But I think that there is, anytime that especially if you go on a deep run, there's got to be some luck involved. Look at the I'm not trying to go way back in time here and go to a different sport, but 1995 Arkansas basketball, prime example. They made it back to the national championship game, but how many close calls did they have throughout the NCAA tournament, just things like that. So, you definitely have to have a little bit of luck involved. But I think really at the end of the day, it's just about don't let the moment get bigger than it is. And I think that's the question that a lot of people have had. And look, I get it. It's a fair question because Arkansas has never been in this spot. Mississippi State's never been in this spot. And we saw what happened to them earlier. They were what got Mississippi State here, defense and pitching, was ultimately what led them. Now their offense, was nowhere to be found either. But what ultimately got Mississippi State here failed them in their first game in the run rule loss. And so Arkansas can't have anything like that. And I don't have any reason to believe that the moment's going to be too big for them, because you think about it, it's incredible that they have the number one RPI and they haven't lost a game or lost back-to-back games in 14 months since they lost the OU series. They were swept in mid-March of 2025 in Fayetteville. So by the Sooners. So there's plenty of reason to believe that they will not let this moment be too big, but you really don't know until they really go out there at approximately 8:30 tonight.
Yeah, and we're talking about those local kids. I wrote an article about Jaden Wells, and I was talking. It's surreal. I've known her since she was 4, a small town kid from Paris, Arkansas, and she was talking about. Just OU's not being there. It's almost like they could come in and assert like that they want to be Oklahoma City's team. They want to be that team that comes in local, bring the crowd in. She said it's just surreal, even sitting in the bleachers watching practice in a spot where she's dreamed of playing her whole life, and just how they're carrying herself and how she said the team is acting. It's a business trip. Yeah, they're enjoying it, but I think a huge part of it is, they get to play at 8:30. You look at Mississippi State, the pitcher today just looked off. She just looked defeated after those first two runs, and then it would just kept on growing. If the pitcher's not feeling her stuff, she just could not get that drop to carry up, and then when she did leave it up, it was going out of the park. So you could just tell the pitcher's demeanor, and I think it bled out to the team. And I think that's what's with Arkansas is you come in with Robin or Peyton, they're going to be able to hold their head up and really, make sure this team stays poised and not let the moment get big, because I'm telling you, you've got a dual threat. You don't just have a pitcher that you're going up against a Jordy Fromm. You're going up against National Player of the Year, and you're going up against somebody that is a dual threat. I mean, I believe somebody said that she was one home run shy of being the first player to go 20-20 back, 20 wins and 20 home runs back-to-back years. So they got the work cut out for them. But I really feel how this team is poised for this game and how they're coming into this series and being able to see the lights and take everything in before their game. I think it bodes very well with them.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Jordy Fromm she's the most decorated active player in in college softball right now. There only is women's, obviously. But, you think about 2023, the most outstanding player for Oklahoma in the World Series, and probably would have been the player of the year last year if Bree Ellis wasn't playing video games in real life, if we're being honest. And she talked about how 2024, when she got hurt, like that was she just recharged. She recharged and she really just got her priorities in life and just really lined up, and that worked out for her. And so that's what I think a lot of people mean as far as the moment. Because look, I think, and I know some people might say I'm biased, but if you look at RPI, it would back it up. Arkansas's not only had the toughest schedule and they fared well against it, but they're on the tougher side of the bracket, if you ask me. And so, and obviously got arguably the toughest opponent in the very first round. So you can't go in this like if you're the lineup, as powerful as that lineup is, you can't be like, oh man, it's Jordy Fromm. You just got to look, oh, it's another pitcher. They've seen some of the best ones already this year. Obviously, the Kamenzens know some of these players really well. Casey Hoffman knows some of these players really well, but the same can be said on the flip side. Guys, the amount of times I've been asked this week is JT Gasso getting intel from, or is DJ getting intel from JT and Patty? And I'm like, well, probably. I mean, I don't know that. I'm not that connected, to where I can figure that out for sure. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's probably the case. So obviously Patty knows Jordy extremely well, having coached her, having recruited her, all those different things. But that's the thing is they can't, along with not looking at oh man, this is OKC. This is like the true big stage. We're only X amount of wins away. What is it? 4 or 5 wins away from a national championship. I think it's 5. You 5 wins or so, and then you're a national champion. You can't look at it that way. It's, as you said, like, enjoy the moments that you're given. They don't come around all the time. But at the end of the day, like, you got to know when to handle business. And I have no reason, just having talked to some of these players individually and interviewed them on my podcast, like, I just feel like they're as locked in as you could probably. Now, granted, this was, throughout the season a while ago, but still just the focus, just the way they enjoy playing together. And then you think about like the Jaden Wellses, the Casey Woods, those in-state kids that might not play a ton, but what their role is, whether that's just being crazy loud in the dugout, whether that's pinch running, whether it's catching bullpens, this team knows their role, whether they have a crazy stat line or not. They just know all of their roles and what they're supposed to do.
One thing I've noticed here, at least over the last week, is anytime I've heard Coach Deifel speak, she has a business as usual, but at the same time, it's one of those times of the essence. She knows where they're at. She knows that this is the best time to do the damn thing, to get there, to do all this. But I still, in the back of my head, and Porter and I have talked about this, in the future, after this season, how important, and I know we all talk about NIL to ad nauseum, but how important is it for Coach Deifel and this team no matter what happens at the end of this, to get support from the NIL to continue this thing?
Oh, it's certainly critical, especially with how she's going to lose as many this year as I would say off the top. Porter, you might know a little bit more about this than me going back in history, but I would say she's going to lose about as much production as she has at Arkansas. That she's graduating, 8 or 9 seniors, and just about all of them are Christian. You're losing your entire – the outfield is going to get depleted. You've got so much experience in the outfield. You're going to get a good bit of your – I know that you lose like Carly Davis and Tiana Bell. You're still going to get Ella McDowell back. You're still going to get like Brinley Bain and Kennedy Miller and stuff. But, yeah, to answer your question, it's going to be massive. You're probably going to need to get – you're certainly going to have to get some outfielders. Because most of your 2026 recruiting class are infielders and really good players, but they're mostly infielders, except for I think Mia Johnson's the only outfielder off the top of my head. But you're going to have to, and it also bring in some experience. So they're going to have to really hit the portal hard for outfielders and see what's available there. And then I would say probably, like I said, too, get another arm, just like an experience arm. They like what they have with Lily Faye McWhorter, maybe some of the kids who haven't pitched as much this season. But at the same time, the Rob is going to be a massive loss just with how much she has pitched. Obviously, Saylor and Peyton coming back is big, but yeah, you're going to need to probably get at least one more arm. And then, of course, the outfield is going to just have to need a lot of help. So definitely NIL will be as big as it has been probably in the Deifel era, I would say.
Yeah, if you get Lexi King to step up, that's another one where if you can get her to step up, Lily Faye, I think she's going to be a phenom.
I think Lily Faye's going to be real good.
She's just exerted herself as a phenom. Talking to somebody, there is, I don't know about, somebody was mentioning Atalia Rio. I don't know if she has any eligibility left. I don't know. There might be, but if she comes back, I'm hearing that the whole left side might come back. So they might not have to replace as much, but we're seeing the transfer portal and Coach Deifel. I think just getting to Oklahoma City and them showing, all right, we can get there. We're not the bridesmaid anymore. It's going to get you a couple extra because they've had you look Bree Ellis. Gibson and Ellis and all the people that KB Sites, all the ones that had come over and transferred. But another thing is, I'll bring it up. Texas Tech. They put up a graphic today during the game. Before last 2 years, they won 26 games a season. The last two, they've won 56. If that doesn't tell you what NIL does for a program who was thinking about Texas Tech softball 3 years ago, Arkansas already got that there. If you could get somebody like the Everetts to step up and get some people like them to invest in the women's sports, I know the patches are a big deal when it comes to the women's sports, and then the Nuggets, all that money goes to, NIL. But it's going to take that because she knows that you're not promised to go back. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the best part of it. I was talking to Jaden about it, and I think that's part of their demeanor is they're so happy to be there, but they know this could be the only time they go. You're not promised to get to come back every year. And I think, honestly, having OU not there is a huge – because you're not going through the aura of playing there and you're having to worry about OU and their fans being there. It's almost like – the top players are out. Let's go make our own story there. And I think it's going to be a big difference for them.
Yeah. Well, as far as Tal, I'll start there. I haven't heard she did get honored with the seniors, so that kind of tells me that she's probably gone. I have not gotten a clue, but I have heard. I think somebody said it on a broadcast, and I confirmed it was. And then I never got a clear cut answer, but I do think she does have another year if she chooses. But the fact that she was honored, that tells me she's probably going to go. But yeah, the portal you talked about. When they got Bree Ellis out of the portal. Now, obviously, Bree wasn't Bree when they got her here. She was a really good player, not what she became quite. But then KB Sides was obviously a quality player. I think last year that was when they made their biggest splash. Getting a 2-time NFCA All-American, a Gold Glove winner, and to pair with, what I think, I know I'm biased, but I think that Arkansas has the best center fielder in the game, despite what, stats may say or whatever. But, as far as maybe the lack thereof, doesn't have the same stats as the Louisiana Tech girl that got the Gold Glove is what I'm getting at. But, and then Tiana Bell, guys, talk about filling the biggest shoes, not just, and this is something Sydney Fields and I have talked about many times, like you're not just filling the production, you're having to fill that personality and like that presence in the locker room. And I've had a chance to interview Tiana this year. She's just really cool person, obviously an insane talent on the field, but she just hasn't. When I realized like how truly tough she was, they lost this game, but game 2 against Florida, when she took that ball, it didn't hit her in the face, but it hit her like on the top of the helmet, and she threw her bat down and said, "Let's go!" Like I'm like, okay, this is a straight dog right here. And I mean, she's got 18 home runs to lead the team. She's batting 372. I mean, she's just putting up crazy, like not Bree stats, but really, really good stats, and leading the team in some categories. So that's been extra impressive to me, is just the fact that she had probably the National Player of the Year. Basically, I think Bree got National Player of the Year by 3 of the 4 major outlets. So that was huge. That was a big question that Courtney was getting in the offseason. It was like, well, we're going to use multiple people to kind of fill her spot, and that's what you have to do. And, this isn't like the typical Bogle Bomber team. They're getting extra base hits, and they're still hitting for power, but they've only got 80 home runs. And I say only because, Porter, we're used to 100 plus that you and I used to talk about back in the day. So, and then getting Kaylee Wyckoff from Tech, she was at Texas Tech and was the Big 12 Freshman of the Year. Carly Davison, that's another one. I mean, to me, her and Natalia Rijo are the most improved players on this team. And I've said it hundreds of times. When you just look at their stats alone, but especially with how great they've become on defense. And so, the portal has become, like they've hit really big out of the portal, really dating back to KB. I mean, we'll probably first with Danielle Gibson. I mean, you date back to those times, but NIL, kind of back to that original question. It's massive in the college game as it is now. Obviously, we don't have the oil money that Texas Tech has, but still, there is plenty of money that they can figure out that I would think they could figure out to do exactly what they need to do.
I need to piggyback off that real quick. Sorry.
You're good.
Do you think it helps that the fact that you have someone like Tiana Bell, but you don't have the accolades, you don't have the pressure of them going first time and having the Player of the Year? Because there was a lot of pressure on Bree Ellis. There was a lot of pressure, I believe, on, she expressed her mental state and just how much pressure and how much that took a toll on her. Do you think it is kind of a blessing in disguise that, yes, this team is very good, it has its fair share of All-Americans, but the team is getting the praise, not just one singular player. It's been more of a team aspect. How much do you think that helps out in this situation?
I think it's really big. Of course, I feel like that the team just really embraced Bree's success last year. And I did talk to Bree at the beginning of the season and talk to her a little bit about the mental health side of it. And it was, guys, and just to touch on it real quick, like it was crazy times in fact. You had 4 players at Arkansas in different sports, or 4 athletes in different sports get basically the Heisman Trophy of their respective sports. Wahiba and Bree were both the National Players of the Year. So it was a crazy time during the spring, and golf, track, like there was multiple sports. So there was just a lot of national attention and all that. But that's the thing, then Bree was the number 2 overall player. So she just, had to, I guess, in a way, kind of come back down to earth, but really just kind of figure some things out from the mental standpoint. But I've had that conversation with, Softball America is on the same network as Hawg Beat, my site. And I've talked to some of the Softball America people there, and it's just like, man, you've got so many great players, like 1 through 9, they can beat you just about at any time, but there's not one true just stud. I guess if you're going to talk about one true stud, it would probably be Dakota Kennedy at her best, of course, not like with the knee injury. But I mean, it's just Reagan Johnson is great in her own right. And Ella McDowell is great. Like you could literally just go down the line, but you don't have that one like superstar, I guess you could say. And kind of like what Bree was. I guess to an extent what she's still trying to get back to in the AUSL. But it's just this team just loves playing together. They love one another. Like we hear all the time, like you are a shining light of your coach, I guess you could say. And that's exactly what. And that's if it doesn't tell you, like Matt Michael could be a head coach just about anywhere, but he's been on Deifel's staff all but the first year that she was here. Gasso, I'm not trying to get too far ahead. I'm afraid we might lose him, or they might lose him. But nonetheless, you've kept a staff that's been this good. And you get Parker Skaggs back, who's great, young coach. So that just shows right there the coaching staff that they've been able to keep assembled, and it just trickles down to the team. And we're seeing how much they love each other and how much they love playing together.
We talk about luck. We talk about other things. what does Arkansas need to do, hopefully over these next 5 wins, but, in Oklahoma City, what does Arkansas need to do to get to the promised land?
The biggest thing, Adam, to me is it's so cliche, but you just can't. It back to the whole moment talk. I mean, this team has the defense. Like when they're at their best, they've got the defense. They've got the pitches. Deep. Courtney said back in the fall, this is going to be the deepest we've ever been in the circle. That has rang true. And we talk about this being not we, but just in general, we talk about this being a hitter's game, and for the most part, it is now. But we are also seeing that just looking at this field, how important pitching is still to the game. Like UCLA. They've got Taylor Tinsley and just not much. I mean, she's okay. She's average probably, but I mean, good player, but just not compared to some of the arms that we have in this field. And then like Texas has Tegan Caban, he's been giving up the long ball a little bit this year, but obviously a very well-established arm. After that, everybody else has at least 2 or 3 dominant arms that, Arkansas obviously being one of those that has 3. And so I think when you look at it from that aspect as well, like the fact that they have 3 arms, it's not just like, oh, you have Shanice Dels and like Mary Half, or like you have Mary Half and a half healthy Autumn Storms. It's not like one of those type situations. You have 3 legit arms. I look at the Fayetteville Regional as a prime example. Peyton Burnham goes out, shuts Fordham down. The next time she comes out, she doesn't pitch that well. Sailor Timmerman comes in, mows them down like Charlie Brown. That's what Sailor Timmerman has been doing. The Texas game, the second South Florida game. You've just got so many. And then hadn't even said Rob. I mean, I've talked about Rob earlier, but you throw Rob in that mix, the senior leader who has put up incredible numbers throughout her career, particularly the last 2. I just think that really when you look at the overall team here, you just can't let the moment get too big, because all of that stuff that I just talked about won't matter whatsoever if the moment is too big.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to go back. You brought up a name. Me and Adam talked about it, and just Parker and talking about him, what he meant to the team. I mean, him going to Duke and how fitting it was coming back and beating Duke. But, he means, and this was another thing me and Jaden talked about, was just this guy is an unsung hero. There's not a lot. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. I mean, Matt Michael and Coach Deifel has been that team. They had to replace Yo. I've said that another thing. The decision to replace Yo with Gasso and cut that tie to know where you needed to get to this level. But bringing Parker back and him being able to come back, I think you're getting the band back together at the perfect time, because I've watched him in practice, how he is with the pitchers. He was the one. You remember back Shanice Dels on the drop pitch. One session, he had her perfecting the drop. And how he can sit there and look from the first base side and be like, okay, it's down and away. And just the little things that he was talking to himself and the players were picking it up on him, just how smart he is. I mean, that element right there, and along with Matt and just how brilliant he is as a wizard, that's got to take a lot of pressure off of Coach Deifel. And then you have the best hitting coach in the country in DJ. You have that staff. And I know you said that, DJ might go elsewhere on down the road, but what right now they have is that perfect core of that team chemistry, but you got to go with that coaching staff and the chemistry that they have as well.
Without mentioning names, I've heard a couple of parents of big-time recruits tell me, like, my kid loves Arkansas, but they really, really love this staff. Like, they're in love with this staff more so than they are with the U of A, and that says something right there. But as far as Parker, no doubt, and I did – interview Robin about month and a half or so, about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and she had talked a lot about that, just how they had a previously great relationship, how big he is for the bullpen, but also too, Courtney's not coaching third anymore. She's in the dugout the whole entire time. She's able to share ideas. Not that Courtney's done a great job with the pitchers. I mean, her being a catcher and just having that mind, and as long as she has worked with pitchers, she's just done such a great job at it. But having Parker there, so it's not all on her. They can bounce ideas off of each other the whole entire time. Like when she said that she was not going to be coaching third, I'm like, wait, what? You've never not coached third in 11 years. But it was massive though. Like as soon as we got out of that press conference, I'm like, dude, that's going to be big time, because she's going to be able to focus a lot more in the dugout. And then on top of Parker being right there, and they can just, like I said a second ago, just bounce ideas off of each other. I think that's also, I imagine, I haven't asked any of them about this, but I would imagine the 3 arms that Arkansas uses the most, of course, Sailor, P, and Rob, I think they would all tell you that Coach Deifel and Parker being in the dugout together has been massive there for game planning and continued throughout the game as it goes along.
Obviously, we're a little bit biased here, but outside of Arkansas, who do you see in Oklahoma City that has a legitimate chance?
Well,
I mean, obviously all teams do, but
yeah. I think as a country, like as a softball fan base countrywide, we've probably forgotten about Texas Tech a little bit. You certainly have to throw them in the mix. You know, Nyjah hasn't been Nyjah this year, but she's still pretty dang good. And Caitlin Terry has been exceptional. You know, there's so many, and it's like if you hit Mia Williams, you're going to lose the ball game at this point. Like that's just like that's what gives them an extra boost. Alabama, I think, has been great and consistent all year. Tennessee has hit a slump for a while, but man, they're looking really good right now.
I really like that matchup against Texas. I just had a feeling that Pickens was just going to carve them up, and you just seen again once you get that lead and you get that comfort. So I just had a feeling about that one.
Yeah, and it kind of scares. I'll tell you what, it would not shock me to see the winner. And again, biased, but it wouldn't shock me to see the winner of tonight's game, Arkansas and Nebraska, go all the way. Maybe you know, you get to the loser. That's the thing is, I think that a lot more teams have I think there's only been 4 teams. I want to say they said on the broadcast earlier in the first game that there's only been 4 teams that have gone through the losers bracket and won it all. But the pitching continues to get deeper. As I was talking, you know, it's more of that. It's not like the baseball kind of format necessarily. I mean, I guess it's kind of become more of that a little, but it's not like the Carrie Deaver Boaz. I should shout out her, you know, the first coach ever, did a story on her the other day. So got to talk to her for a bit, but she took Fresno State to 3 consecutive runner-up runs, I think all lost to UCLA, and she was the primary arm. Tammy Kincaid, her first ever pitcher at Arkansas in 97, threw like literally every inning. That's just what they did back in those days. So now that you don't have to do that, and especially since Arkansas's got 3 arms, you don't want that pressure, and obviously you don't ever want to be in the losers bracket. I think they're calling it the elimination bracket in this soft age we live in. But you don't feel as bad. You don't want to have you don't want to have that pressure on you. But I think that teams are better equipped is what I'm saying if you have to. So I like those 2 teams, obviously, with Arkansas and Nebraska. UCLA is a really interesting one because they, on paper, have the weakest pitching right now, but they've got the best offense. 200-plus home runs, it's setting records, just all kinds of crazy stuff. So that's kind of one that I'm like, well, they've got the offense, but can their pitching hold up? But, yeah, to me, it's probably I like Alabama a lot. I like Arkansas, of course. Texas Tech you can't forget about. But I really feel like that whoever wins between Arkansas and Nebraska has a really good chance of making a super deep run.
Yeah, because Alabama, they're currently at 1-0 on UCLA right now, but they're throwing Brisky. I was really worried if they were going to switch that up. I think that bodes well. I know you're still having to go up against Ball or Fromm tonight, but I was really worried about if they were going to have to go through Fromm and then try to go up against Brisky, which they could eventually bring her back in if things get out of hand. But at least you don't have to worry about that back-to-back right out the jump. So, but no, I'm looking forward to it, Kyle. I know that, you know, you're excited about this, and, you know, hopefully we're talking about this next week and talking about them, you know, getting to that championship bracket. But, you know, this team is set up for success. And like we've said, not saying they'll never get back, but this just seems like the best year they've ever had as a whole. And we want this to finally pay off for them, not just be one of them things, well, we made it and we're happy that we made it. We want them to make a scene and stay. And I think a win tonight, you get that, you know, that rust off, and you beat a team like Nebraska and the player of the year and a couple of former teammates. I think that just sets the fire for the rest of the time out there, because you're going to, again, go up maybe against Alabama or UCLA. And I like the chances, especially with them throwing Brisky tonight.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then see that with as we're doing this here, like they still haven't released the lineups for Arkansas and Nebraska. Now, when I released our preview on hogbeat.com today, I just put projected starting pitchers.
Objective.
I took a shot in the dark and said Peyton Burnham. Now, I believe in my heart that Rob is going to get the ball because she's, as we said before we started recording, like she's the senior leader. She's earned this. Not that P hasn't, but like Rob, this is our 4th year. This is our last run with the Hogs. But P has been pitching really, really postseason Peyton. She's been postseason Peyton. So it wouldn't shock me if she gets it. But how awesome is it that we're talking about that? And most years it's like, oh, Shanice, oh, Mary Happ, oh, like this, you know it's going to be. But right now, Arkansas is so deep in the circle, there's multiple options. So I think Rob is going to get the ball when it's all said and done. But I went ahead and took a shot in the dark and put my projected pitcher as Peyton. But we'll see.
Well, Kyle, it's been great. Again, once again, always great having you on. Thank you for coming in. It was fitting. We Arkansas is playing tonight in the Women's College World Series. I had to bring you back on to chop it up with me and Adam. So, I mean, really appreciate your time again. And I guarantee you we'll be talking very soon.
I hope so, man. I was just saying when I'm always on here, man, I'm always indebted to the Hog Talk. This platform, this podcast, it really opened a lot of doors for me. I know Cabo would say the same, even though he's on a competitor now. No, I'm just kidding. I talk to Cabo and I
still have love for him.
Yeah, we love him.
We still talk pretty regularly. No, I love Cabo, but yeah, no, I think it opened doors for both of us. Jackson Collier, Jackson Collier used to contribute for Natural State, who works for me now, contributed for Natural State Sports, who I also contributed for in the high school side. So yeah, man, it's we've helped each other out in a lot of ways, and no, I love to be on anytime. So
I appreciate you. Have a good one, man.
All right, guys, we'll see y'all.
Take
care.
Later.
That was Kyle Sutherland of Hawg Beat. Adam, I mean, just a lot of hype around this, a lot of promise. I was looking at the score right now, 1-0, but it makes me feel a lot better knowing. I mean, of course, you're not scared of who you're going and try not to look ahead, but I mean, that just has to. You look and see that they're throwing their ace against UCLA, but when you're in the Women's College World Series, it's mano a mano. It's best against best. So you could take any kind of competitive edge you can take. And I think that's something where you can give it your all against the National Player of the Year, knowing that, all right, they're not throwing their number 1. They're going to be throwing their number 2 against us if we are fortunate to get past this first round matchup.
Oh, 1,000%. And it's one of those things that take whatever you can get, how you can get it. So whether it's luck, whether it's whatever, this is one thing that I feel like Coach Steifel is going to go in this with a game plan, who we're pitching, who we're this, who we're that. We've talked about in baseball and in softball, pitching struggles or hitting struggles or whatever, and you just hope everything comes full circle. And if one thing is slacking, then what's your game plan on the other side of things? So if you're pitching slacking, how are you going to contribute bats? So I just, knock on wood, I've got a good feeling. I'm not trying to overhype it. At the same time, we'll see a lot tonight and just how locked in Arkansas is.
Yeah, and another thing that really hasn't been discussed, I'm sure, elsewhere, but another thing I just thought about, how would they face adversity? You run rule your regional, you run rule your super regional. What happens when you get hit in the mouth and you go down 2-0? Jordy's on her A game, and Robin gives up a home run. I mean, how do you adjust to that adversity and not let that get to you, shake it off? And I think that's going to be another thing, battle tested. Can they come back from a deficit? So we'll see that tonight. Again, 8:30, UCLA, Alabama 1-0, top of the third. So I think there's like a 30, 45-minute break in between games. So as soon as this game's over with, there'll be a short break. But what we're going to do, we are going to take a short break. Hear a word from our sponsors at Vision Exteriors. When we come back, we'll break down Hunter Yurchek's displeasure of his schedule. We'll talk Malik Thomas and Billy Richmond III, and we'll talk some rounding out with the baseball regional in Kansas at Hogland Stadium. And we'll be back with a word from our sponsors at Vision Exteriors. Looking to enhance your home's curb appeal? Look no further than Vision Exteriors. As your trusted roofing, siding, and exterior experts, we're here to transform your property. Our skilled team ensures your job is not only functional, but also aesthetically pleasing. Along with roofing, we also offer window, gutter, and siding installation to boost your home's appearance with our quality options. Visit us at www.visionexteriors.com or call us at 479-397-4770. Let's make your vision a reality. And welcome back to the Hog Talk podcast. We'll jump right back into the second segment. We'll start with basketball. Couple of questions. You know, we've seen the big switcheroo, Adam, where Billy Richmond was gone, and then everybody's talking about PayPal Cal. Jump in, and then 10 minutes later, he's back in the mix. And then you see, of course, there was a silence from the other side, silence from the camp. No message, and then word comes out that he is staying. The question I have for you, we ain't talked about this, so kind of be off the dome question.
Okay.
And this is what we can ask the fans if they want to jump in the comment section. Do you feel slighted that we did not get an announcement, a thank you from Malik Thomas? Do you think in this day and age where we are paying players to play at Arkansas, that a common courtesy, hey, thank you, Arkansas, for what you've done? Do you think that is deserved, or are we as fans being selfish about that?
That's loaded. So I look at this. I'll start with both of them in this whole process. So we've talked about for the last few weeks. I've said on this show and I've said on Hog HQ what I thought would happen. What I thought would happen would be, obviously we wanted both of them to come back. But that wasn't necessarily, that was best case scenario.
Yep.
Out of both of them, we all kind of knew Malik Thomas would be the one to not come back if he was going, if one of them was not going to. I even said last week and the week prior that I felt like that we would hear from one before the other. I felt like we wouldn't hear from the other until the last minute, which is obviously what happened with Malik Thomas. I think we're in a day and age. I mean, I make graphics for Hog Talk. I make graphics for Hog. There's too many graphics that are put out there. So I do feel like that it's expected for us to get something from Malik. But at the same time, I understand why we haven't yet. And I do still feel like we will get some sort of answer from him, I guess, in that sense. I loved what happened with Billy Richmond. I love, we're putting out there that, hey, he's leaving. 30 minutes later, he's coming back. And you can say whatever you want to say that, PayPal Cal, they threw him the money. You and I have been saying for weeks at this point, if not longer, because we talked about this at the end of the season or when they announced, there's no reason to stay in the NBA draft if you're not going to be a lottery pick. And so it is still a risk for Malik Thomas. He could make more money here at Arkansas than he can in the NBA initially. So I do think he has the work ethic to get there. I truly believe he has the work ethic to go at this. Like we talked about this also, like Jordan Walsh, like Nick Smith Jr.
Yep.
To play G League, to play the dual, be in one game in the G League and then be sitting on an NBA bench that evening. So I think he's got that. But Billy Richmond did the right thing because him coming back to Arkansas, I mean, I guarantee he's probably getting $2 million plus to come back to Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
And by all means, get your money.
Yeah.
So he's doing the smart thing. Raise your stock, be the focal point on this roster this next season, and make yourself a lottery pick next season.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could be the heartbeat of this team.
Mm-hmm.
What we were talking about with, the local one that, here with the softball team and talking about being the cheerleader, you can be that and be the star player. I mean, you got a lot of people coming in next year, but you not can only, I know a buddy of mine hates the term glue guy, but you could be the star of the show and be the glue guy that brings that fire, that voice of the team. And I think that's why it was so important. I think Malik Thomas was he was just wanting to go pro. I think that, he came in, he did his thing. And I think in essence, yes, I feel like he does, the fans are deserving of a thank you, or at least saying I'm going pro, something, I just think, and I don't think people are being selfish because one, nowadays you don't know how people are paying for this player. What if somebody dropped $25,000 as a donor and like, hey, I'm helping you play here and give money. I can't even get a thank you, And I know it's the small things that we talk about, but it's just one of those things. It's common courtesy. Dude, just drop a graphic or have somebody do it for you.
And we've seen tip nets and some of these others put stuff out.
Yeah, something like that.
Hit me up and I'll make one for you.
There you go. There. So I just think it goes a long way. But also I was talking to a buddy at work today, and it just seemed like with Malik Thomas and why I figured he might come back. He just seemed very timid with the ball when you had somebody like Acuff. But then again, in retrospect, maybe it was just, and this is no disrespect to him. Maybe he knew he was going pro. He knew what he wanted to do. He was using this advancement or this, being able to come to college and play for Arkansas to get to the next level. Nothing wrong with that. And so maybe we'll see him be a great pro. Maybe we'll see that he, so it was just there was silence, slided in a fact of we knew when he entered his name that the fact that he was the first one, we knew more than likely he was going pro. It ain't like this was a last week decision. So that's where I just kind of felt like, but I was just wanting to ask, in this day and age, where NIL, where people are coming and going, do they owe the fans and the university a solid goodbye?
And I haven't been on social media much today, so apparently Malik has put out a reel. It's one of those that which I'll watch it after this show. Malik Thomas has had nothing but love for the state of Arkansas and for the University of Arkansas and Coach Calipari. We obviously knew when he came here that he was going to be, as soon as the opportunity presented itself, he was not going to be in an Arkansas uniform anymore. So I just looked at, and like I said before, me being a little bit selfish, if you will, wanting him to come back and things of that nature. He's taking a risk on himself, and more power to him. Yeah. And, we got wind that Billy Richmond had jumped from, potentially in the 50s, potential draft pick. There were a couple teams in the 30s, late 20s looking at Billy Richmond. Like I've said before, if you're not in that top 15 lottery pick, there's no point in risking it with what you get paid in college anymore. So I think that Billy Richmond did the smart thing to come back and up that. Guess what? Whatever team Malik Thomas goes to, just like we've done with Nick Smith Jr. or Jalen Williams or Isaiah Joe or Jordan Walsh or the other number of Arkansas, even going into the Ricky Councils and Stanley Amudes and the players that don't get as much limelight or maybe aren't on teams that have as much success. Malik Thomas has a whole fan base behind him. Malik Thomas has got fans for life, and he's got wherever he goes, he's going to have eyes on him from in the state of Arkansas.
Yeah. And that's my apology. Like I said, I had not seen where he announced. I hadn't seen, because usually a lot of people will share it and you'll see it all over Twitter or Instagram. I'm not a big Instagram person. So maybe that's why, I didn't see it was, that's where it was released but I hadn't seen a lot of it shared. So, and I knew that leading up to it, there was no announcement. So I do apologize for that. But, even with, Billy Richmond coming back and everybody and getting the 7-footer, I think that they are set up really well for next season. I think that with what Cal's building there, and he's already built, you've got to build a team where you've got to at least make the Sweet 16 and get past, into the Elite 8. I mean, that's where you're at now with this program. We said it last year. It's Sweet 16 or bust. I mean, we know how hard it is, but when you're this type of program, you have that type of coach and you're bringing in this much talent, it should, making the Sweet 16 should be just like making the tournament. That should be their objective. Mm-hmm. And then if they get lucky and make it to an Elite 8 or a Final Four or a national championship, that's awesome. But their, what I should say, their standard, their expectations, Sweet 16 and beyond. That's just where they are as a program right now.
Oh, and it's kind of like we've talked about before too with football. The getting to a bowl game is the bare minimum these days. That should just be expected. If you're not getting there, then it's failed. Obviously, Arkansas has room to grow after going 2-10, but no longer bowl games. Getting to a bowl game, winning 6 games or whatever, that's just a drop of the hat anymore. So I look at basketball, especially with Coach Calipari, the same way. Like, these last 2 seasons, we've gotten to the Sweet 16. So at this point, and we talked about this previously too, how are we going to move forward?
Yeah.
Elite 8, Final Four, etc. So you've got to set standards. Coach Steifel's doing that right now, getting to Oklahoma City. Obviously, we've talked about with baseball, getting back to Omaha and finally getting the monkey off your back. So there's goals in place for these teams, and it's kind of make or break time for some of them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And there'll be more with that, with this basketball team. Now that everything's said and done, we a lot of the waiting game, now we can breathe. Now we can embrace on getting ready for what's next. And now, we could switch to football and Adam, I don't know what it is about this guy. We talked about this with Kyle before we started the show, and we've just kick this guy while he's down. And it seems like every other show we're talking about something else that he has done to really screw things up. And I'm just at the point where it's like, you can't even joke about it anymore. It's like sad. It's the fact that you're complaining about something that other colleges and the other universities have done way worse than what you're complaining about. And you put a statement out there going up against your TV partners, going up against you want to talk about money and you want to talk about risking revenue. Why are you going up against the biggest hand that feeds you? Why are you going up against the entity that gives you the ability to get $70 million a year? It's idiotic. And I think that's where, we've had our fair share of moments where we're upset with things that have happened, but this has got to be up there taking the cake of why would you put yourself out there when you are winning 2 games a year and you want to sit there and say that we deserve this, we deserve better. And for the benefit of our players, I mean, you're throwing this god awful excuse out there and rationalization that doesn't even make sense. And all you're doing, again, hey, look at us. We have the women playing in the College World Series, and you want to sit there and put this out. And now the attention's on that and what you said, instead of us sitting there talking about the women playing the College World Series.
So some of y'all know where I'm about to go with this. I'm just going to play this little 3-second clip right quick of Mr. Hunter Yurchek.
6, 7.
So he obviously can't read the room. Whether he wants to, I'm not going to say make himself relevant, because sadly he is relevant. This is just griping to gripe. This is just making yourself look like you care. We've obviously proven that, and talked about too, that he cares about the bottom line. He cares about being in the black. He cares about winning or being in the top 10 in the Directors' Cup, SEC championships, and other sports that he didn't want to support. So this is just to make himself look like he gives a damn with that statement that he put out. I mean, we talk about graphics being made. I mean, he had that made into a graphic rather than just, typing it out yourself or whatever. I don't agree with it. I get where he's coming from, but here's the thing is, like, we knew, I guess in my head, playing in Utah, looking at the schedule, I hadn't really thought about it. And there's been previous games that we've played in years past that we've played a game on a Saturday and then maybe played on Thursday or Friday because of a holiday.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So why now have you decided to speak up? What caused you to speak up now? I just don't understand it. And I feel like it's in some way, shape, or form, he's trying to, like, save face a little bit because of what he's done with, like, tennis programs and other things. So he's trying to make it seem like he's got these programs' best interests.
Well, yeah, and you're looking at say UCLA and these West Coast teams that are playing East Coast. I mean, you look at UCLA, you're talking about playing Michigan State, Maryland, then you got to go back to Indiana, you come back home for Nebraska, and then you go to Ohio State. You're mixing it up, but I mean, geez Louise, I mean, look at how many NFL teams play a Sunday night game and they turn around and play on a Thursday. And you're talking about 11 a.m. game. But I think what really throws me off, and I understand if you want to be technical about it, is 9:15 Fayetteville time, but you're playing, it's going to be a 7:15 kickoff.
Yeah.
And then you're coming back and you act like it's such a grueling, time between then and 11 a.m. I mean, what are you really missing out on? I mean, it's a flight, you get rest, and it's one of the things that and maybe because it's Utah, then Georgia back to back. I don't know, but when you have the team that you have, a couple years ago, this could have been a cupcake game. This could have been one of them games where you could have been in a position to be the better team, win that, and then get ready for Georgia. But right now, where you're at a position in college football, I mean, you made this schedule, you made this home and home. So, and y'all wanted the 9-game SEC schedule, so this is part of it. And if you think that this ain't going to get any easier, but we're flying charter now. It ain't like we're busing across. We're going on the Oregon Trail, dying of dysentery and stuff. You're flying freaking private jets and planes to Utah, and then you're coming back. So, I mean, that's a lot of it too. You get the best of the best treatment. You have the best of the best when it comes to your recovery, your weight room, your nutrition. You have everything at your disposal that can help you get ready. And with technology, you can make advancements even better now. So I just think that it was another thing to gripe about. And to be honest, maybe if this was an isolated deal, we could kind of rally behind it. But it just seems like he just cannot help but gripe about anything else and keep the attention off him. I don't understand it. And for those, I got the statement up for those who have been living on a rock and you want to see it. I mean, it's right there, right in front of us. And I just don't understand the fact that you're griping about 11 a.m. game. And maybe it's the fact that you might lose revenue. I mean, what happens if you go to Utah and you get blown out? How many people is going to be there at 11 o'clock in the morning to watch this game? I mean, what if that is a lot of it is you're projecting it on ESPN when it's Arkansas's problem?
1,000%. And we've talked about before the issues with these 11 o'clock games. We don't like them. We this, we that. The way Arkansas football has played the last few seasons, the only reason I don't mind some of these 11 o'clock games is so that we don't have to wait until 3 o'clock or 7 o'clock to watch Arkansas lose. So we get it out of the way. At the same time, this is a lost argument. Arkansas has the most difficult schedule in the country, and prime reason because of that is because you were a 2-10 team. We've talked about Arkansas' strength of schedule for the last several seasons, but the way you produce your season results are one of the main reasons why your schedule is so difficult, and it's because you've been trash. So it's something that right now, I mean, Hunter, like I said, we've said Hunter Yurchek's just trying to stay relevant, trying to make it look like he cares. Again, go to our TeePublic site and get the Hunter Yurchek clown shirt. Just to let him know. But it's faceless. It's just, at this point, it's stupid, dude. You don't care. You were trying to cut to the men's and women's tennis programs because you couldn't come up with the money. You don't care. So don't try to make it look like that's this big deal. We all
now we're concerned about
that. Yeah, we all knew that this schedule, when we first saw it, didn't know the times, didn't know this, didn't know that. This was a daunting schedule.
Yeah.
This is the most difficult thing outside of getting a new roster and going through it for Ryan Silverfield. Like, you were just given the worst possible scenario with having to get a new team. And then this schedule. So at the same time, I remember whenever I was the same age as these players, 18, 19, 21, like, guess what? Like, playing a game Saturday night and then traveling the next day and then playing the game 6 days later, guess what? These players don't care.
No.
It's not really going to affect them because guess what? They're probably going to be up playing video games anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because I know that myself, a lot of athletes, like they play, they're going to go on there and play college football, Call of Duty, whatever the case may be. These guys are going to be up. So stop making stop making them seem like a victim in this.
Yeah, it's insane. It's one of the things that you can't help but bring it up because it is a hot topic, but it's still just like it's getting old. And we in weeks past, Adam, we would be jumping all over this. We would be having a heyday with this because just our disdain for Hunter Yurchek and what he's done. But now it's just like, okay, enough's enough. It's getting old. It's not cute anymore. And it's not even worth like really going all out like we used to. It's just sad at this point. Like quit even, putting yourself out there. If you had a winning program, if you would win more than 2 or 3 games a year. But and when I say that, you're the one that said that you didn't set your coach up for success. Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about you know what? You're the one that made this bed. You're the one that made this, the non-conference schedules. You're the one that didn't set your former coach up for success. Mm-hmm. So you're the one that has to eat all this. You're the one that has to take all this criticism, and you just won't go away for a little bit. You won't let everything just die down. Summer's almost here, dude. Take an early vacation. Like just go,
softball and baseball and be done with it.
Exactly. Send out your congratulations to the women's softball team and all that, and just go sit with Sam at the lake for the summer, and then when we come back for SEC media days, maybe pop back. But I think if anybody needs a break, it's him, and it's not just from his job. He needs a break from the fans because we're tired of it. Yeah. The fans are tired of it, and when you can have a joint consensus of outside of a few that maybe be defending him, which I've seen a couple, but not many. But when you have a majority of the fan base and it's growing, your disapproval rating is growing.
Yeah.
And it's sad at this point. But enough of that. We're going to end the show. We have regional action coming up. We have Arkansas versus Missouri State in Lawrence, Kansas. They were trying to get the stadium more people there, and I love what they're doing, and I'm not doing this to make fun of them, but because I love the effort, but it's almost like they went to Creekmore Park and just put some bleachers out there in Creekmore Park and said, hey, let's bring some more people in. I love what they're trying to do, but just the view that they showed from the outfield looking in with the trees, I was like, dude, we're at Creekmore Park.
I mean, might as well just have the where's the drive-through at Poto, Oklahoma, or wherever it is, the little tower drive, whatever. That's what I feel like they're doing at this point. I get, this is my issue with, we talked about with like Mississippi State hosting some of these others. You've got to take into account how your host sites can host fans, other teams, and whatnot. And Kansas is not.
Kansas, yes.
Yeah, Kansas is not a venue that is very welcoming to have 4 sets of teams, fans, and rosters come there. They're not. It's not built for it. So I just look at it like this was a botch by the committee that made the host sites.
Yeah, and it's the thing that we can't go too heavy on it because Arkansas still got to win. That they've still got to win the games. Now I was talking to Andrew Hutchison. He was giving some tidbits on what he thinks, and it's one of the things he figures that you have Gackle coming in. It's one of those where you've played Missouri State, but you've never thrown against their top arms. And this 1-1's 1-1. You need to do the best you can to go 2-0. You whether you win tonight and then play Kansas, and then you got to win that. You're setting yourself up either way because coming out of the loser bracket is hard in the regional. So whether you throw Dietz, Gackle, you want to try to not throw McElvain. Try to stay out of the closer as much as you can because this will be outside of when you get to Omaha. It'll be the hardest position of trying to keep your pitching staff together. You're forced to pretty much fake it till you can make it and get to Omaha and then pray for the best. because at least next weekend, if you do happen to go up against Georgia Tech, it's best 2 out of 3. You don't have to worry about, winning 2, coming out of the loser's bracket, and then playing 2 more to get to a super regional. You've got to go out there, take care of business. The good thing is their bats are hot right now. So if they can keep their bats alive, keep it going, really take over the stadium and show their dominance, I mean, it's theirs for the taking. And that's what we got to remember. Arkansas is the best team there. They're better than Kansas, whether Kansas is the host or not. But they are the best talent. They're the most talented team there. It's going to come to their pitching and how it holds up in this regional.
1,000%. I mean, we talk about the luck, we talk about other things, but this is the time for Arkansas to be that team that they've played against in years past, be that team that is getting hot at the right time. Their first game, I think they need to do it, just like they look at SEC series, winning game 1, winning the Friday night games in their SEC series. Dave Van Horn needs to go about it the same way. Win game 1 and then build off of that. Don't get in a hole early because it's not going to bode well, but at the same time, just stay ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's a task here. This is where Arkansas's in familiar territory. This is where their season truly starts, is postseason. It's almost like we were talking about with the basketball, and your standard is, the Sweet 16. That should be the floor now. Now with you're talking about the Arkansas baseball program, Super Regional is the floor. I mean, that's the floor of your program, is you get to a Super Regional, and then let's see. And I believe there's only been a couple of times where they've traveled to a Super Regional. So, I mean, that's again, it's hosting. You're so used to hosting a Super Regional. So that's where it's going to be uncharted territory, is the fact that you're going to, Lawrence, Kansas for the regional, and then you're probably going to Georgia Tech to face them in Atlanta, and how you're going to hold up. So, but all in all, with this team, I think there was posed out there, if you don't make I think this team was a smoke screen of itself. I think there was a lot of holes in this team that they got hot at the right time, but I don't see that this team, if they don't make the Super Regional, it would be a disappointment, because I think there was just a lot of, when we look back at this team and the injuries that they went through and just the talent that is lacking 1 through 9, and then the pitching staff, it's almost crazy that they if they do make it to a Super Regional, it would be a huge success, because they don't have the talent they had in years past, and they don't have the pitching. So right now you're playing with house money if you make it to the Super Regional.
Definitely. And I think this is something where, and I'm not trying to tell Dave Van Horn how to do his job, obviously. But whatever happens in these playoffs or in this tournament, take the issues you've had this season and do what Courtney Deifel has done and fill those gaps. Because we've seen, and I'm sorry, if you have to go ask for more NIL, do it. I don't care. At the same time, you've fallen short this season with talent, with the injuries that we've had or whatever. So at the same time is of the essence, like we talked about with Dave Van Horn, and take some advice from what Courtney Deifel has done and go fill these gaps. And I'm not knocking him by any means, but unless you get hot at the right time, I mean, this is going to end at some point, potentially before Omaha or in Omaha if we get lucky. I just look at it like, Dave Van Horn's probably got 3 to 4 more seasons if I had to guess. Coaching. So I just look at it like you've either got to get hot or you're going to have to go adjust for your shortcomings.
Yeah, and it could be less. You never know, because I mean, look, NIL's aging these coaches.
Yeah,
whether you would admit it or not. I mean, NIL is aging. Even somebody like Cal, I wonder what kind of situation he was in. Thinking he had Billy locked down, he gets a notification saying he's gone, and then, oh crap, I need to throw some more money at him, or you're scrambling. You never know. So it's one of those. We know the time. The end is near in his career at Arkansas. Whether it is 2, 3, 4 years, we know it's inevitable. So they need to, but the money's where it is. I think a lot of these schools and these programs that are, you look at OU softball. We talked about that last show. You can't just look yourself in the mirror and be Arkansas baseball anymore. And it's crazy that you've never won a national championship, but yet you have that aura that you are one of the premier programs in the country. But you can't look at yourself in the mirror and just be Arkansas anymore. You got to have the money to back it up, because now you're seeing other schools do that. And then
stop worrying about having the number 1 recruiting class.
Yeah,
that only gets you so far. You've got to go a step further.
Exactly. Well, Adam, you got anything else?
I'm good.
All right. Right now, as the softball game, end of the 4th, UCLA has taken a 3-1 lead on a 3-run home run. They have knocked Brisky out of the game. So I think 4 innings pitched. So I don't know. I might have been looking, they were batting. I thought I was seeing a different name up there, but no, she's still in the game. But no, UCLA's up 3-1 against Alabama. So, I mean, you talk about, when we're talking about Kyle and the lack of pitching, and UCLA has their star, maybe that'd be a benefit if they do knock off Bama.
Yeah.
Arkansas pulls off and beats Nebraska tonight, and we're playing UCLA next round. So look, 8:30 tonight, Arkansas, Nebraska, Hog HQ live Sunday night, 8:05, Hog Talk podcast. We're coming back to you Monday, 6:05. For Adam Hall, I'm Porter Hayes. Thank you for everybody for tuning in tonight, all of our sponsors, all of our fans, and we will catch you on Monday.